Last one. Figures out now. I think it's a Vino on the bar, doesn't sound, yeah. Really? Wow. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that about you. Hooray. Oh, I am too. I'm like, no, you're gonna keep this in. Oh, you poor thing. Where you going? Oh, yeah. It's way up by Paris. So Paris is way north.
Eddie Palmieri. Eddie Palmieri. Pedro Martinez on congas. Robbie Amin on drums. Ruben Rodriguez on bass. Ronnie Cuber on the baritone saxophone. Brian Lynch on trumpet. And my name is Conrad Herwig, and I play the trombone. Thank you. The Latin side of Wayne Shorter.
Richards, excuse me. I knew it was something. Robert Mitchell.
It's hard to see the lines because they're kind of uprooted.
Mr. Flustered. President Miller.
Okay, am I on? Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And to start the meeting, let's go over our minutes. Let's see.
Roll call.
Okay, yeah, let's first do our roll call.
Okay, here we go. Chair Miller,
Here.
Brady Bernstein,
Here,
Jenny Champignon,
Here.
Lisa James, Joseph Matisha.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'd like to go over the minutes for Tuesday, May 30th, for the Single Family Design Board. Okay, let me see.
wait, May? Not May.
June 12th.
June 12th? Okay.
June 12th.
Okay. Now, I just say the addresses, right? And okay, we have 2110 Rose Way, Red Rose Way. Number 507 San Onofre Road. And I think that's it. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for June 12th?
I so move.
And second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, we're going to go approve the minutes for the consent calendar for June 19th.
The minutes for the June 19th consent agenda are as follows. Item A, 1733 Mission Ridge received approval of review after final is submitted. Item B, 310 Argonne Circle received approval of review after final is submitted. Item C, 1935 East Los Tunas Road was continued indefinitely to the staff hearing officer with the comment that the proposed request for an as-built trellis and arbor within the interior setback is aesthetically appropriate and does not pose a nuisance to adjacent neighbors or pose consistency issues with the SFDB guidelines or city ordinances. Item D, 814 Soledad Avenue received project design approval and final approval as submitted with the NPO findings. Item E30 Rubio Road received project design approval and final approval with the comments that the NPO findings were met. The deck had minimal visual impact and the extension is appropriate and the tall hedge provides screening.
Okay, thank you.
Item F, 1428 Manitou Road received project design approval and final approval with the NPO findings.
All right, thank you. Would like to make a motion to approve the
So
minutes.
moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, June 26th.
The minutes for the June 26th consent agenda are as follows. Item A, 202 La Plata received approval of review after final as submitted with comments that the artificial turf is acceptable in size and location as the front yard area is the primary landscaped area of the property and should not be visible from the street. And 2, the other proposed plantings are to be drought tolerant. And B, 1431 Sycamore Canyon Road was continued 1 week to consent with the comments that the applicant shall provide staff with a copy of the geotechnical report referenced in the plans. One correction also, members present was Champendal and Miller, not Motisha and James.
Okay, thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve these minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Okay, do we have any announcements?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to make an announcement that the draft new zoning ordinance city council hearing is July 11th in council chambers at 2 p.m. The city ordinance meeting was held on May 31st and recommended that the city council adopt the new zoning ordinance with the topics of neighborhood markets in single-family zones and mobile food vendors to be discussed at the full council hearing. So in case anyone's interested in going, that's coming up.
Okay.
I just want to give you an update on the appeals. As you know, 1625 Overlook Lane was appealed. It's scheduled for September 19th.
Okay.
And we just received another appeal of 288 Cannon Drive, and that is scheduled for August 15th.
So we need to have someone there to represent. Has that been?
We would like someone there to explain
Okay.
the board's findings of approval. Yes,
All right, should we make that determination now or wait till Fred gets back or?
we can wait.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
I just want to go back to the first announcement.
Sure.
Is anyone else on the board interested in attending that as well? What date was that?
it's July 11th at 2 p.m. in the council chambers.
Okay. So, all right.
For those of you interested, the staff report will be placed online, and the total ordinance and package is going to be about 600 to 700 pages. Some interesting reading.
Light reading.
Can we print that up on?
Yeah.
So,
And then I just wanted to announce that we have our new appointment. Robert Richards is a landscape architect who will be beginning next week with us, the next full board meeting on July 10th. And then today is Denise's last meeting, so thank you, Denise.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being here.
Very welcome.
And just to mention, Denise has been here since the very beginning of Single Family Design Board, so you're one of the original founding
Yeah, me and
board
Bernie.
members. Yeah. Well, so, thank you
yeah,
very much for your service.
on behalf of the staff, we'd like to have you and thank Bernie for
Yeah.
the attendance. I think Bernie was asked to stay on. I don't know if she's going to stay on, but
No, I actually wasn't.
no. Okay.
Yeah, no.
I thought that you could stay on until they appointed somebody else, but
Oh, I don't really know. Nobody's really
no one
talked
conveyed.
to me.
Yeah, I know I asked them to do that, but we will continue that discussion. But thank you both for your service.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
On that note, I
yes,
also
Mr.
wanted to
Lamont.
announce my retirement. I will-
Everybody's leaving.
Everybody's leaving now. I'll be around in July, so if you all have some things that you'd like to touch base with me, I tend to try to conduct another training session in July with Kate, and we'll see what we can do to zero in on things that I think I'd like to convey
Yes.
before I leave.
Yeah, there's a body of experience there that's definitely needs to be passed on.
Well, hopefully we'll get somebody we're looking internally that'll have some also planning experience, so I don't think we'll have much of a drop off there. But
Great.
we also wanted to report a little bit on our tour event that we wanted
Yes.
to get back. And I was thinking maybe Kate could combine some of the statements or observations that you all made at the site to help us move forward and learn from those. Because I thought it was really beneficial to go look at constructed projects and what we learned from that.
So if you guys have the packets
That's
filled
all
out,
right.
you can give those back to me, and then I'll try and compile something for everyone.
So does everyone have their packets? Have they handed it in already, or they haven't done it yet? Or?
I think I only have one from Fred, so hopefully everyone still has theirs.
Or you could actually just summarize different
Yeah.
observations from each site
Yeah.
that you want to
Okay.
convey.
All right.
Bring it next meeting or whenever.
All right, great, thank you. So that concludes announcements and any subcommittee reports. Fred's not here, so he usually has something about that, so we'll go on. All right. So I think our first project is 2001 Stanwood Drive. So would you like to come forward and introduce your project? And Denise, do we have minutes on that?
Yep. Let's see. It's a review after final.
New sets for you guys.
Okay.
Right, okay. Okay, there it is. It was continued indefinitely to the full board with the following comments. The applicant is to submit a finished set of complete and accurate drawings and plans reflecting all the changes made to the project.
I think we got current plans already.
I just printed these today.
Are they any different than what Katie? Hold on. Okay.
Number two, the board found the change in the roof tile to be acceptable due to the financial hardship of the applicant. However, the first 3 rows of the roof tile are to be 2-piece mission tile with matching ridge cap details. Boosters were deemed not necessary. And all changes are to be shown on the drawings and plans. Action Motisha James 310, Sweeney opposed. Bernstein stepped down, and I was absent.
So Bernie, are you?
Yeah, am I turned on here? I actually don't have to step down.
Okay,
I know
great.
the property there were old plans with somebody that I knew, but then she sold it, so I have nothing to do with the sale of the property,
Okay,
so
great.
I don't have to step down.
All right. So could you show us how you handled the roof tiles?
Sure. I've got a set here. You want me to flip this for you? What?
Whatever works best. We want to do it with the camera. So.
You guys will flip over to A2.4. Thank you. So last meeting, we did approve the roof, but you guys still asked to see some information on it.
Better turn them on there.
Last meeting, you guys asked that I show some more information on the roof. Here's our color drawing so that you guys can see a little bit better. We asked that we wrap all edges in this Barcelona tile, and then we spread 15% through the field. I hope you guys find that drawing acceptable. Here's the ridge detail that was requested as well.
Okay.
In addition to that, the second concern was the elevations and window placements and door placements, and those are addressed on the elevation sheets.
Okay, you want to show us your elevations?
What, they weren't correct, is that what?
Exactly right. So if we look back on the past meetings, there were actually, this house was built differently than it was approved. So I was tasked to go redraw the plan. I brought that set in, but I didn't know which set was originally submitted.
Yes.
So there was discrepancy between those 2 sets of drawings. These should be correct and up to date. They're exactly what is there. The problem last time was the bubbles. We had issue with bubbling on places where windows had been removed or windows had been changed, and they should all be accurate now.
Okay. All right. Now, does anyone want to see past drawings of the older elevations, or are you satisfied with this?
I'm fine.
Pardon?
Are you fine with it?
Yeah. mean,
Well, it's
I know,
basically built already.
yeah, it's already built, and Fred
built,
had
we
very
saw it.
strong, we
Saw
went
it.
and saw it, so, okay. Strong feelings about this, so. All right,
It is.
okay, great. Do we have any public comment?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right, so we'll bring it back to the board. So does anyone have any questions? No? No questions? Any comments? All right, if I don't have comments or questions, I guess we could move it to, someone want to make a motion? I guess? Okay,
The board moves to give this project final approval based on what you've shown us today, that you have plans that are fleshed out and finished, showing the as-built conditions of the windows and doors, and that they are properly indicated by bubbles reflecting those changes, and that the board okays the details that you've shown for the roof tile and the ridge cap. The 15%, could you repeat that? Do we need that detail about the 15% oral?
It's a review after final is requested for revised architectural details, including revised windows and doors and a revised roof plan to change the approved two-piece mission tile roof material to a Boral S tile with two-piece boosted Barcelona caps on all edges and first 3 rows on all eaves, and with boosted caps mixed in for 15% of the field.
That.
I have a quick question, sorry. The style of the tile that's on there currently, is that compatible with putting a 15% field?
It is.
It is?
It
Okay,
is.
all right.
I have a question. We don't have a new color materials board, so do you have the color of the new
Yeah.
tile?
I don't have it on hand. I can get it for you guys. I don't have it with me today.
How about, then we will give you final approval and with the condition you return to consent calendar with your color board and sample of the tile?
No,
No.
we just want it submitted.
We just need it submitted, so
Oh.
you can just
Oh,
give it
oh,
final.
to the counter.
Yeah, they had previously shown you the color sample. We just don't have it, so we should have something in the file.
On file. Okay, that is my motion.
Okay. All right,
I'll second.
second one, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, you have your project.
Thank you very much, guys. So I will fill this out.
Yes, talk to Katie about that.
Thanks so much.
A whole bunch of plans here. Do you want all these plans, Katie?
I just need one.
You might want to take some.
Here you go. Take all these. How come there's so many? Here's some more here.
Okay, 1213 Harbor Hills Drive.
Final review.
Okay, I'll have you fill out the rest of the motion.
I did.
This is Ruben's hearing. I need it. I can't believe it.
I know. I can't either. I've got, I've been here since 2007.
Turn that, Brian, turn that light on.
Long
It's just
time.
off.
So I guess I'm gonna need to do a little bit more. Oops, sorry. That's all right.
I have a colored version of that.
Yeah, why don't you put that on here?
It's
That
also,
probably,
it's reduced, so it isn't scaled, but it's easier to work with.
well,
I think it reads better, so.
sure. Wherever you. Would you like to introduce yourselves and explain what you, do we have minutes?
Yeah, it's coming. Hold on.
Okay,
They're coming. Here we go.
Still getting the plans out.
okay, all right. So we'll have.
Okay, so let's see. Last reviewed April 3rd. And we had quite a long list here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this received revised project design approval, and it was continued indefinitely to the full board with the final, with the following comments. Number one, the board made the finding that the project qualifies for an exemption from further environmental review under CEQA guidelines, section 15183, based on the city staff analysis and CEQA certificate of determination on file for this project. The board made the finding that the neighborhood preservation ordinance criteria have been met as stated in subsection 2269050 of the City of Santa Barbara Municipal Code, with positive comments regarding the project's consistency in appearance and size, mass, bulk, and scale, etc. The landscaping plan has a minimal negative impact, and the project is in compliance with Good Neighbor guidelines. Number three, the board found the increase to 110% of the guideline maximum floor-to-lot area ratio is particularly appropriate to the way the square footage is distributed on the plans, does not negatively impact the overall size of the structure, and is of minor impact in size, bulk, and scale, and is compatible with the neighborhood consisting of similar larger-sized homes. Number four, the board found the new pool, based upon the proposed landscape plan, will pose minimal visual impact. Number five, the style of the proposed gate is appropriate and compatible in size, bulk, and scale, and style with this structure. The board reviewed the amount of soil removed and grading of the property. Action, Miller Bernstein. I was absent. Motion carried 5-0-0. So you are here for
final.
final.
Here for final, I just received the SWIMP plan check back from Timothy Burgess and Creek, so there's just a couple minor changes that need to be made. So if you feel like it's ready for final approval, you can continue it to consent for final if you think that's appropriate.
Oh, for the SWIMP requirement? Yes. Okay. All right, so can you show us your details? And
Sure. Douglas Beard, architect.
Yes.
Rob Fowler, landscape architect.
Jarrett Gorin, planner.
Thank you. All right.
So essentially what we've done is I've made a couple modifications from the original plan.
Okay.
And here, this is all civil work and all that. But the essence of the floor plan and the pool location, all that has remained the same. You know, I've located some fence work around the perimeter of the property. We've also shown where condensing units would be located on the property. Those are all very, very well hidden, and there's no neighbors on this side. This is the closest neighbor that's back over on this house. We have our pedestrian walkway and access way all the way down. So the entryway, and this is the only area that has changed per se as far as the fundamental facade.
Yes.
Looks, and I will go to that. So the way this house kind of rotates around, I've given you one overall here, but then I had to section it out so you kind of get a direct view of what each elevation looks like. This is the area that has changed the most dramatically, where this was previously a roofed sloped roof area, which you will see on the very original sketch. It was just a roofed area with shed roof with just a big window and a door for the bedroom down below. So I've changed this to a little, just a small little Juliet balcony that comes out maybe 4.5 feet out from the house. This is a pair of doors that just opens out. And
do you have a plan view of that?
I do have a plan view of that.
What's this floor?
It's up. That's above that. Yeah, it's right here.
So you built that whole thing out on the bottom to?
Actually, that was already built out.
That was already like that.
As such, and that's what shedded over the top of this. And so what we did is it still remains the same, and I just put this little wrought iron detail on there just to, and some wood corbels underneath it to kind of offset the look of it.
Okay.
A little bit. the flues have changed a little bit. I had 2 flues, and before it was just a simple tapered, so I've changed the flue configuration. And then the on the entry side, the go to the floor plan again and show you exactly where we're at here. On the entry side, this used to be the front door going in here, and the owners kind of requested a little bit more of a direct. That was too indirect for them, so we've opened this up and made us a big archway right here with steel doors, and then we're going to accent the perimeter of that with either stone or plaster. We're still a little bit back and forth on that one, but we're going to do a little detailing along the
How much of it is door and how much is stone on your elevation?
Might want to wait till for questions.
This
Got it.
banding around the top, and this is all steel within there with the side lights, and door with this steel side lights. And then because of the way this shifted around, I've changed this a little bit. So we come in, so there's really no guest parking down here. So any guest would have to be able to come down here, go in, and have a kind of a direct view through the house to a pretty amazing view of the ocean beyond. So those were the only differences. As we go through on details, so I've got all of my gable ends are going to have the scalloping, tooled scalloping here. We've got the build-ups here for the 2-piece mission tile that we're going to do. Little corbelling details out of plaster. Some of the areas with tongue and groove ply or 2x6s underneath. With the so that's all the roofing details. All the windows are typically just radius plaster into the finished material of the steel and/or windows that we have. Got
Are those
chimney.
gas only?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they are.
Otherwise it gets crazy.
It gets difficult to deal with that. Trellis details here. Again, this is an overall trellis detail of the fire ring and the barbecue area. We have some this is the main structure, retaining walls. This whole building is going to be on caissons. I'm just showing where all of the edges are going to be as far as in waterproofing. Again, here's more standard bevel detailing going in. Stair details. Wrought iron. This is the Juliet balcony wrought iron detailing here. We're going to take that and move it down to the lower patio as well. It just expands out a little bit more to. But we like this little arch detail in the middle, and then just expand these out to. And then here again, and that's the front door with the plaster banding detail.
Okay.
And then we've got, as far as electrical stuff, most of the electrical, and I have all of the, we've tried to stay very, very small with path lights, path lights, some down lights in the trellis areas, a tree light, all down light here. This is some wall lights that we have and step lights, combination thereof. Details for different sconces here, which we'll have to have the LED and the candelabra shielding and all that kind of stuff from the for the dark skies. These would be in the tucked underneath the overhangs and the loggia areas, just to kind of give it a little bit of a softer feel there.
Right.
And then this is not the most up-to-date landscape, and I will let Mr. Fowler take over.
All right, we do have the reduced set.
The reduced
Right here.
set is right here.
Okay, good.
This is the reduced set here.
Go ahead.
scooch forward.
I'm sorry, this was the
Okay, great.
finished materials.
What's this?
This was like the steel with doors and windows.
Nice.
That's what we were looking at. Black trellis work, trim work for if they don't use steel. And there might be some areas where they go to clad, aluminum clad windows. So that's what that is. Stone base, copper detailing. 30 30 30 or 33 33 33% mixture on the roof tiles. And this is all be the wrought iron too as well.
Thank you.
Okay. So Rob Fowler, landscape architect.
Yes.
So I'm just going to go through this. One of the aspects of this project that we, tried to resolve, and I think we did well, was this whole 5-foot dedication easement that goes in here. So
It's a 4-foot, but
okay. So anyways, there's the entry. So there's the auto gates, then there's a pedestrian gate, and so the paving needed to basically give some indication that that there was a trail there, and so we did do that with the way we designed the paving. But one of the things is this owner up here. This is still something that nobody's bought this lot yet, so we didn't pave. We paved this in asphalt, and then right here we're using chip seal just to contrast it. So to create that contrast, we have the stormwater management conditions. So we have permeable paving here. We've got permeable paving throughout here, which is the Belgard paver, and here. As far as the hardscape materials, we have a 5-sided flagstone in Cherokee Creek in the back. We've got stone. We've got kind of a combination of some stone caps, some limestone caps. So as far as that goes, material-wise, just kind of cutting. You've seen the gates before, but this is kind of keys into all the hardscape callouts and all the material. So that's the Belgard pavers and some of the different little colors and combinations we're doing with the driveway to create subtle contrast. And then as far as some of the paving materials like the 5-sided Cherokee Creek, we have some of this kind of condition where we have a synthetic turf way down at the bottom with some Cherokee Creek. And then some of the limestone caps that we have, like around at the pool coping, for instance. Some of the steps, we've got some different conditions with using Cherokee blocks, and then in some cases we're veneering over here. The retaining wall down the back, we've got kind of some of the stone that's being proposed for the retaining wall down the back, where we're not doing stucco. So anyways, that kind of lays some of that out. And then as far as planting design, the planting design, there's as you know, there's an incredible view lot. So it was so the trick was
Keep the plants down.
Yeah, was to basically soften the house to some degree from below and yet frame the view. So you see the tree clusters kind of work the ends, and the fact that there is quite a bit of grade change in there, that helps allow me to get some trees kind of down below and kind of soften things from down below. But one of the things is there's a house right here that just kind of looks down into kind of this outdoor pool area. So some of these olive trees are kind of placed for that notion of providing some privacy for the owner here. And again, kind of softening along the corners where we could, the views kind of out this way. So the trees are olive trees, Arbutus marina, Arbutus unido, one fruit tree over here, and and then I have the 15-foot keep your trees out dedication line. Most of the planting down below, it's like there's some Melaleucanessa phyla. The palms were kind of, that was kind of an introduction from when this project first came through. There were some palm trees as part of the concept. So I felt obligated to kind of still incorporate some palm trees in there. I don't have a lot, but there is some palm trees proposed in there. But all the planting down below, again, it's just kind of trying to soften the edges and soften the grading and kind of really help have this house kind of hunker into that hillside as much as possible. So, and then we'll hydroseed, any of the stirred grading. So that's the tree plan. This is the understory planting plan. That's a little bit of kind of some of the themes with some of the succulents and drought tolerant, with some Allothrasky, that's that kind of accent plant right there, and then there's a bunch of little succulent mixes that happen in some of these kind of places in here. You know, I've got all the Wilco's stuff in here, and then the city's, their water compliance statement, and we get into the boilerplate stuff with detailed specs and more irrigation stuff. So I think that's it.
Thank you. All right. Is that the conclusion of your presentation?
I guess, well, I'll say something since I'm here. If you're so inclined to grant us final, well, we're going to have to go to consent to handle these stormwater calculation changes, but those don't really have any potential to affect the aesthetics of the project. So just if you guys could, in any motion that you make, just make it clear that that's really the scope of review at consent and that the rest of the project is okay.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right, thank you. So I'm going to bring it to public comment, and we have one person here, Mark Lloyd. If you'd like to come forward and say what you need to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and honorable board members. My name is Mark Lloyd. I am the neighbor to the west of this project. I got my notification today, and so luckily I saw it in the mail, so I was able to come by. I didn't get my notification for the preliminary hearing until the day after, and so I know that staff works hard and diligent, but there seems to be a problem there. And compounding that is the U.S. Postal Service has changed my mail from the afternoon to the morning, so it was even later for the preliminary. At least I got it this morning in today's mail. This project site is one that was being processed for a building site by another owner about a year or two ago. And I worked with the owner and his agent on making sure that they would accommodate access through the private access easement that we all use here so that I can get to my lot, which is over here. It's an undeveloped lot, much as the lot to the north is undeveloped. And so I came down today before the hearing and looked at the plans, and I within the plan folder I saw the plan that was in there from the last hearing, and the civil plan looked very much like what we had worked on. I'm not concerned what I'm seeing on the landscape plan, but I do have some questions as to how that's going to accommodate the access. Okay. As far as the structure goes and the layout, I would compliment the owner and the architect. I think it's a beautiful building. I think it's a beautiful site. I strongly support development of this lot in this manner, and I think it's an exceptional project that is just wonderful, and I encourage you in the strongest ways to approve it as to those matters.
Okay.
But I am seeking to keep my access much as the access to the northerly lot has been kept. So it looks like the way that the public trail is being done here, and first of all, the easement's 40 feet wide, and obviously we're not all going to use the 40 feet. And so I need 16 foot of access because the access would be two lots, access for two lots. And so it looks like for the paved portion that they talked about with some chip seal, that's 16 foot and then some, because the driveway there is 12 foot wide, and there's that 4 or 5 foot trail component. And so it looks like the intention of that is for both owners to drive over that trail versus being an exclusive pedestrian trail. So automobiles in that trail are going to share that, is what it appears to me. And if I need to, I'll go to the planning staff to confirm that. So I would presume that same circumstance is going to be in play for the portion of the driveway that is behind the gates, meaning that pedestrian trail can be driven on. So if that is the case, that is just dandy. I do have some concerns with the gate pilasters. Obviously, at a point in time in the future, if and when I need to access that gate pilaster between the driveway gate and the pedestrian gate is going to be problematic. And so I would just bring that to the owner's attention, and just happy to work with them as a resolution on that. But and so it might be a good thing to consider a 16-foot gate there or some other combination, but right now that's, sitting 4 foot into the 16-foot access. So that's generally the concerns I have. Again, I think this is just a fabulous project. You guys have done a wonderful job.
All right, thank you very much. So a few quick questions regarding this clarification in terms of the easement. Is the public allowed to go across? So this gate is permanently unlocked for the public?
I believe that this is not a public easement. For the trail is.
It's been offered as one. It hasn't been accepted yet.
For the trail only.
Right. Correct.
Right. Not for the roadway. It's a private access.
The roadway's private.
For all of us.
So that's my next question. Is this gate, the gate only to this house, or does it also go to your house or the property next to it?
Well, it's a vacant property.
So if someone was to develop that property, this gate would be...
Be him.
That gate may not work for me. It needs to be 16 feet. Travel.
What if, I'll wait for questions.
Yeah, and then, also I would, at the time I do my building, I would also dedicate the trail over my lot.
Right.
And then that joins to the trail that's dedicated on the Rogers Track subdivision lots that were done. So now we would have a continuous trail all the way from one side of the mesa over to the Harbor Hill side.
Okay.
So again, I'm just getting in here because I want to be able to coordinate those efforts and
Right.
not have us all,
Yes.
geez, now I got to tear out a gate and I didn't know about this.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do you have any comments about this regarding the easement, or, all right.
I mean,
Well, yeah, if you could elaborate a little bit more on, because I know we've talked about this trail, but I don't remember what it connects to, and how do the public people know they can get up there, or can they get up there?
Wow, that's 3 questions, and I'll answer all 3 of those.
Okay, I knew you would.
What it connects to? Nothing. It doesn't connect to anything yet.
Talked about, yeah, I
In
remember
theory, as properties develop around the rim of the canyon, this thing is supposed to connect all the way through. So when Mr. Lloyd does his property, the city is going to ask him to offer for dedication the same easement that we offered here. And then as this, in theory, continues to go around, then someday there might be a continuous link that this hooks up to.
So this trail is more of a thing for the development itself, not a public easement for the city overall.
It is supposed to be for the public, but it's not. It's a low key. It's not like the bike path at Cabrillo. It's up there in case anybody hikes up the hill, and there's no signage directing people to it. There's no public staging areas for people to park and go hike through these people's properties. It's just it was an idea in theory that the city had, and it's asking people to do it. And I think a lot of it, the genesis of it actually came out of that Vista del Oceano project across the canyon from us. So that's where this is all related to, and that's what it's for. So Mr. Lloyd's correct. The road easement itself is private, but this 4-foot section of it that overlays that is offered as dedication as the pedestrian easement.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So
And as to the gate, we're fine making that a 16-foot clear gate. We've got room for it. We'll just address that, and when we come back for consent on the stormwater stuff, we'll have that revised design.
Great.
One other thing for clarification. So when you said the city, is there a particular person from the city who we would ask about this, or we would want to make sure that it's being done the way that they want, piecemeal for each project, it sounds like.
It's going to come up when it's on the city's radar and plans for every lot that's out here. And when these lots come forward for approvals, the city has flags in its tide mark or whatever is going to replace tide mark that says to look for this and request it. And then at the time an actual proposal, so like on ours, when we went through this, we proposed the project, and then during the plan check, they brought up this easement requirement. And then in the context of this specific project is how we designed where it would go, which is what you're seeing now. And I imagine it would work exactly the same way on other lots as they come in with applications.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I hate to belabor it, but just one other thing is, so how would anybody know with the gate there that they're allowed to go through the gate? Or are they not allowed to go through the gate?
They're
sign?
they're allowed to go through the gate. It's not locked. I mean, there's other trails that are out in the Vista del Oceano track that are very low key trails that
People walking their dogs and stuff
yeah,
like
people
that?
that just live in the area are just aware of these things and use them. It's not, I don't know that the city had an intention that, like, people would travel from where I live over on Eucalyptus Hill over here to hike on this trail. But people in this neighborhood would be familiar with it and know about it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
But I would like to address, just as far as the security aspect of it, is where we were thinking, and was why we came up with this 4-foot portion, this pedestrian gate. That this would be controlled only by the owner's gate, the 12-foot wide gate. This would be controlled, let's say, by photocell or sensors, that it would not operate during the nighttime per se, just because of people accessing down and through here. That it would be would be basically for daytime use only. And there will be signs on here because the owners have a dog. They don't want people coming onto the property with the dog and all that kind of
So this gate is going to be an
stuff.
access gate to 2 homes, eventually.
Well, yeah.
The gate will stay there,
Right.
and it may end up being a 16-foot.
It may end up being a 16-foot.
With no separate gate for pedestrian.
No, it would still have. We're gonna have to retain a separate gate for pedestrians. It's just we're very close to 16 feet already, and we'll just alter the configuration to provide 16 feet clear for vehicles, and continue to have the gate for the pedestrians in addition to that 16-foot clear.
Okay. This has been discussed and nobody really pointed in the past, and I've been sitting here this whole time, all the meetings. Is there not any uncovered parking for this residence? It's all, I'm
The
looking at
required
it.
is 2 covered spaces
Yeah, there's
for single
All
family
the
residential.
parking.
and we have 3 covered spaces.
3-car garage, it says.
Right,
covered
No,
spaces.
I understand that, but
There's
you can-
parking
you can
within
park
that,
here,
and
too.
at some point, when
well, it's
there's
not.
development.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, anyway, so
When development occurs beyond this, there'll probably be some guest parking figured out, but there's no requirement for guest parking. And
I understand that.
there's parking on Harbor Hills that's not a very long walk from this place. So
Okay.
we would expect that where guests would park if there was no space.
Well, I was just looking at, right here, and this is access to the other. There's obviously not going to be any parking right there, and the parking is there and wherever it is put in the future. Correct?
The easement has to be retained clear for access to our neighbors.
okay.
And the proposed hedge, for whatever it's worth,
Hold on.
is temporary. It was done with the notion that the owners would want to try to kind of shut off some of this, off or distant.
That's an empty
views.
lot up here.
So figuring it wasn't going to look that good now. But
Can I?
One more question. Sure, go ahead.
Is this the access to this upper lot?
Yes.
Right there?
yeah.
That is correct.
Right there. So this is only for one lot over there, or 2 lots?
2 lots.
2 lots.
That's
over
for
there.
2 lots.
Yeah, okay.
2 lots, of
Thank you.
which one of the lots is ours. 2 lots total. That's why we need the 16 feet.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So that kind of segued us into questions. This gentleman has one more comment. Would you like to make?
Mr. Chair, I
He needs to
concur-
speak into a mic so we can
Yes,
record
please
it.
sit down, speaking to a mic.
I concur entirely with Mr. Gordon's explanations of things, and the trail connectivity. Mine's the last lot, and it will connect to the Vista del Oceano track trails there, and there'll be a continuous trail from one end to the other.
Okay.
And so the only thing about the gate, I think it's a great idea having the pedestrian gate in here and not having it part of the 16-foot gate. And so the designers, I think, could, come around and have a man gate right in here if they wanted to, a little
All right.
pop out.
Well, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, and I also do support the notion of a final approval today with a consent
Okay.
on anything else.
All right, thank you
So
very
long as
much.
that access is remedied for me.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification, because it's an interesting situation. Okay, so are we, any more questions? Yes.
Question to Mr. Fowler. Would this be a temporary planting then when the next lot is developed? What are these particular
It's Pittsburgh, Marjorie Channon, or it's Texas Privet, were the
Okay.
two plans. And I
Extendable,
just
if need
mentioned
be.
that it was temporary, and I would figure when the next donor comes along. That was the notion of the hedge, too. That gives you flexibility to kind of control the height that works for everybody. So it may come, parts of it may come out.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I was wondering, I had to step out for a couple of minutes when you read the previous minutes, but, you know, I've been here for most of the hearing now. I wonder, could you just repeat those again, so I can have it in my notes?
Oh, it's long.
Oh, well, just real quickly.
Want to read it?
Yeah, well, I'll read it. That'd be great.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
All right. Okay, any other questions? I have a question. The roof tile. Can we look at the roof tile? I guess it's based on the elevation you drew. Is it all two-piece mission tile? It's all two-piece, okay. It's just the way it's drawn on the computer drawing. It just seems strange.
Yeah, it's, well, computers are
Yeah, I know.
notorious for not doing the artistic aspects of detailing.
It's getting away at the front.
There yet?
9, yeah, we have.
Okay, all right.
So we have that kind of a detail. We have, the double stacking here on the edges.
Okay.
So yes.
All right, that was my only question. All right, we're done with our questions, I guess. We'll go into comments. Any comments on the board?
Support the project.
Okay.
So can I. Yes, that's an elaborate, big project, but it's nice.
If I can, sorry, if I can just ask if you make comments that you supported or if you like it, please state why so that we have notes.
Yeah, as Fred would say, be very specific as to, because of the issue, the fact that it's over 85% FAR, it's kind of critical that we be very clear about why we support this project.
Okay, I support the project because the current configuration addresses visibility issues with neighbors, and the MPO findings have been met, and the size, bulk, and scale is appropriate to the other houses in the neighborhood, and that it works with the current topography tucked in well. That's why I support it.
Bernie?
Yes, I agree. I just read through all of our notes, and we've looked at this several times already, and we did make a lot of comments to support why the board could approve this project on this site, in this neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Joe?
I'll pass.
Okay.
And ditto. But the only thing I have to say is that you might have a little trouble with the uplight. Those are not really allowed.
Back up, I'm the mission.
You're just going to take that out, right?
Yeah, there's some
Okay.
plates on.
Because, yeah, the city frowns on those.
You still
Too bad.
passing? Okay. Yeah, I could support this project too. I think you've done everything we've asked, and it's very sensitive to the topography. I think the size, bulk, and scale is appropriate for the style of the neighborhood, and so I can support this project. So if someone would like to make a motion, and to keep in mind in this motion that it's going to consent regarding the change of the gate width and for the tier 3 SWIMP requirement. So who would like to make a motion?
Come on, man. Oh, God. Okay, I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
I move to continue the project to the consent calendar for the following changes that the board requires. We would like to see the gate width to be 16 feet clear, and to see the Tier 3 swim at the next, well, when do you want to come back to consent? Just next one, next
Come
Monday?
back to the next consent.
Okay. And other than that, we can give it finals
Okay, you want to give
right
it to
now? No, we
MPO
can't.
findings?
Okay. We already did that.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that to receive final at consent then.
All right. So that's the motion. All those, who wants, like to second that motion?
I second it.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, is there a 10-day appeal period for this? Or is
No,
that-
we didn't give it final.
That's announced at final, so not just yet.
So it would be at consent?
At consent.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You just need one set.
I need one set and then just if you can fill out.
So you have one, I'll take this out.
Okay, 507 San Onofre Road.
Hi, Paul.
This is second concept review.
Yep.
Wait for the minutes. and
Comments
then
only.
you'll wait
For the minutes, we'll
Introduce
just
yourself.
Wait for him.
anticipation.
Okay. All right, this was continued 2 weeks to the full board with the comment that the board would like the south side exterior staircase of the proposed addition to be removed or relocated. The board found acceptable the second story and garage changes on the north elevation of Plan Sheet A1 and as depicted on the east elevation of Plan Sheet A3. The board found the proposed south side exterior staircase of the addition on Plan Sheet A2 not acceptable. Action Sweeney Motisha 600. Motion carried.
Could you say number 1 again? I didn't quite
The
get
board
that one.
found acceptable the second story and garage changes on the north elevation of Plan
got-
Sheet A1.
Was there one before that?
No, oh, just that the board would like the south side exterior staircase of the proposed addition to be removed or relocated.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Zink. I'm the architect of the project, and we did what you asked. I removed the deck, and I
look at
removed the
that.
staircase, and I removed the connector to it. So everything else is the same. We are significantly under the 85%. I think we're at 75%. The house, everything else is the same. We have chunky beams out here because that comes forward a little bit. The garage is 20 by 20 in order for me to get the laundry to work. Popped out a little section for that. So that's the project. Everything else is matching the existing, the style of windows, plaster, and asphalt shingle roof. And then we're going to have a plaster chimney right now that's a little short brick chimney. But we have to elongate it with a metal lid.
All right, thank you. So, presentation, any public comment on this project?
I did not receive any, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. So I'll bring it back to the board for questions. You have okay, here's your roof plan. Okay.
And then this is just a pyramid. It's a perfect square. 23.6, 23.6.
No questions?
Any questions? All right. If you have no-
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so thank you, Paul, for coming back, and I think everybody can see this as a great compromise. Are the colors changing? Is anything
None.
changing? Nothing? Okay, and the new staircase material?
There is no new exterior staircase. The staircase is now in the middle. It's now, the only staircase is in the inside. I got rid of the exterior staircase. That was the bone of contention.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. So, any comments?
Did you enlarge, by taking away the staircase, you enlarged that? Did you enlarge the building down below?
I did, because I had like 3 feet in this little zone that my client was hoping they could still do their Airbnb Airstreamer, and they got popped by the city. And so, duh, but still, that's what their hope was, and I was their architect, and I left it be 3 feet. I just gave them the bare minimum for the 20-foot setback. And now that they basically won't be proceeding with that option, I went right up to the magic do not cross line.
And you brought it back here too, didn't you?
That's always been here because I had to have the 20 feet.
Right.
So I've always pushed the washer.
But the stairway, where the stairway went down, you enlarged.
It was kind of went up there, yeah. So
That's
there was a slope in the locker room.
So the building was underneath the stairway.
Correct.
Yes.
That's why I had a plaster thing underneath. Prior to that, I had it opened because this
Yeah.
was all open, and so then my compromise the first time was I made it a plaster bottom, and now this is a solid bottom. And you're right, that won't be a
Yeah,
full
the
height
stair
ceiling.
usually go up here.
But this is going to be a shear wall because this is the exterior wall on the second floor. A portion of this will be because it's supporting the floor joist right up here. Or not
So the
sure.
roof, so there's a roof, this is, sorry. Upper floor,
You're fine.
Main
This heavy
level, sorry.
line and this heavy line represent the second floor.
Which is this right here, which is
Correct.
right here. And this is the
So
lower
you asked for
floor.
the roof. Here's the roof right here.
So you, let's look, let me look at an elevation of this outside. Oh, yeah, okay.
This is that low roof. It's a
Much
before I
better,
had a
much
deck,
better,
and I had the
yeah.
stairs, and then I connected it to this one.
So they have to go through the, and so
Interior.
this is why you have to go through the kitchen to get from the master bedroom.
I hear you.
Okay.
And they don't mind that. It was more for their dogs, so they love dogs, and they wanted to have the dog have a pee break.
So that's
in the
the
middle of the
only,
night, which is why I always had a little doggy door, and I had a big enough landing up there so I could have the door and a landing before the stairs started.
Well, you know, it's, you gotta just worry about the aesthetics. Even the floor plan's kind of unique, but
I'm client's client, okay.
We actually did what you asked us to do, so there's no discussion.
I know. Well,
Well, there's always discussion.
If you want
Yeah,
pink
you
windows,
did.
I guess I'll say yes.
Well, I would like to make a comment to thank you very much for doing what
yeah, the
we
elevations
asked.
look much better and it doesn't,
It does look better, the elevation, I must say. And it's been so swell knowing you.
I know you're leaving. I see you on Facebook. You're going to France.
Yeah, that's it.
Parlez-vous français?
Oui.
All right.
Yeah, but it's a small world.
It is.
yeah, well, you know where to go visit when we have our.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Party at
Party at
Denise's.
Denise's.
Okay, so, yeah, there was no public comment.
So if you don't mind, I'm just looking for positive comments to go
Yeah.
on to the staff hearing officer,
Okay.
and then the rules will change the 1st of August, and then I'll be back here for preliminary and final at the same time.
Yep.
Okay, then.
All right, who would like to
Well, we
make
just.
comments?
Comments. Okay, comments. Let's see.
All right, I'll make a few
Okay.
comments. I think the board appreciates the attention to the details that we asked, including the removal of that staircase. The newer design, I think, is compatible with the neighborhood. It fits better, and I think it gives the applicant what they needed also. So I think it's, as I said, a good project and a good compromise.
So you continue it to the staff hearing officer then?
Well, we're making a motion, right?
No, it just,
We're not-
just
Continuing.
comments.
Well, yeah, that is a motion.
Okay, yeah, continue.
Oh.
I think the board finds that the project meets our guidelines, and it's a good project, and we'd like it to go forward to the staff hearing officer.
you see the yellow.
All right, that's the motion. So do I have a second?
Yes?
I also have sections if you want to see them.
No, that's the north
I
and
think-
south. How about the east elevation?
All right, who sec-
East elevation.
Who seconded
Who
it?
seconded the motion?
I'll second it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, Paul, you have your project. Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.
And you need only one?
825 Roble Lane.
You guys are right on time.
Roble?
Is it Roble or Roble?
They're the same
I
as
don't
that.
know.
I don't know.
Now, this is here for project design approval. Project must comply with Planning Commission Resolution number 001-17 and was last reviewed June 13th, 2016.
Okay.
Oh, this is a familiar. So
We'll get the minutes in a minute.
it's at 78% FAR.
A year ago.
Yeah.
A while ago.
Where you been?
We've been a lot of places.
Okay, let's see if you can remind us what this is all about. I'll read our last minutes then here. That was last reviewed, it said June 13th. Second concept review. And public comment. Okay, so there's a lot here. Our motion was,
Okay.
continued indefinitely to the staff hearing officer
Yeah.
for return to full board with comments. Number one, a majority of the board finds the requested front and side setback modification are aesthetically appropriate and do not pose consistency issues with the single-family design guidelines. Number two, the board finds that the proposed size, bulk, and scale are acceptable and the proposed changes are neighborhood compatible. Action, Motisha Miller, 600, motion carried, Pierce absent.
Okay, thank you. So would you like to?
Sure. My name's Kent Mixon, architect for Androlitis Mixon Architects.
Trish Allen with Suzanne Elledge Planning and Permitting.
So I'll just give you kind of a brief overview from where we were from last year, from where we were this time last year. We went to show staff hearing officer for review because of the requested modifications of the setback encroachments in the front and side yard, which we will just get into here in the site plan. You can see here, front yard, side yard. Then the project, from there, the show decision was appealed to Planning Commission. The project went to Planning Commission.
All right, just a point of clarification. So the staff hearing officer approved a project
Yes.
with conditions, and for that reason, we went ahead and appealed that decision up to the Planning Commission. There was another appeal also. Jeannie appeal, the neighbor across the street, Palumbo. So I was blanking on your last name, Jeannie. So it was a double appeal, but then we went up to the Planning Commission, and the project that was approved is the one that's before you this afternoon.
Yeah. And essentially, the project you have before you today is exactly what you guys have reviewed to this point, with some small exceptions, which I will point out. This is the addition of the upper floor that we're proposing. On the second floor, out of the second floor, which is where the kitchen and dining room are, there's a small kind of terrace here, raised terrace, and you go down these stairs into what is where the barbecue and so forth is. We're proposing to push that terrace outside of any setbacks. We're not asking for any encroachments there, just to provide some space just outside of the kitchen at that floor. And then on the lower floor, there's a rock rubble wall that runs through this property, extends outside of the house, runs through the middle of the backside of the lower floor, and then runs through this section of the house and then out the western end. This area here is where the garage sits right now, just for reference. And so this subterranean retaining wall is needing to come out for the construction of this new addition that we're adding and the loads on there. It's an unreinforced rubble wall. The structural line is at this location, and we're already extending that out for that stairway. So rather than it jog back and then cantilevering the garage floor, we're proposing just to capture that subterranean space and create a closet and a bathroom for that room. The other change from what you guys initially saw was an addition of a window in that the closet here that faces that street. And part of that was because it's a blank wall. I think it didn't make it into any meeting minutes when we met with you guys last year, but there was kind of some talk about it at one point. So we're showing that. And then the other change is there's an existing chimney that right now extends through this roof on that second floor. We were extending it further because of the construction we needed to. And then we were proposing one on the outside terrace. We've elected to take that down and not have the chimney at all. It will stop at the underside of the eave. It will be a direct vent at that where the living room floor is now. So none of that is extending up. I know that was a point of contention for the neighbors and so forth too. So we've taken that down.
Okay.
It might be best just to maybe look at the photo sims. I don't know. They're at the beginning of the plan or the beginning of the set. The elevations, as You may recall, it's all the set's organized so that you have the proposed and the existing from each elevation all the way around the building. You can see here, this is the existing chimney, and so rather than extend it up how it was in previous design, we're stopping it there, and then there'll be a vent on the back side that we'll have to deal with, but we've done that before.
Is this the road level right here?
That's the road level,
Got it.
yeah. And then that's that window that you see there. And that picks up on the size of windows we have in the existing house, and then you'll see in this next elevation, in that transition into the new addition, there's some small windows too that kind of repeat that same fenestration. So this is the eastern side. And then we have the western, or the southern elevation. And then you can see here that this is the extension of that deck on the western elevation. I have some just rough three-dimensional images, kind of a bird's eye of that, so if you want to, we can look at that as well. And then this is the western elevation. This is the existing deck, and then that section of it just here pops forward. And that's what you're seeing in that location. And it builds off of, there's a screen wall that you can see probably better in this elevation here, which is the stair runs behind that, and that's just Ipe 2x2 slats. And so that deck comes off of this last one here. I don't know if you want to see, I mean, these are the building sections that run through the existing versus proposed. We've taken it in two areas that runs through the master and the bath over the garage area. And then the next one runs through the terrace area for our proposed terrace. And that's the garage and the addition beyond. And these are just site sections through the property that were part of the previous review that you guys reviewed as well. And then did a couple of those, kind of through the same areas, those building sections, and then the street elevation relationships to the neighboring homes existing. And this is proposed, and this is our addition there. To go back, finishing up this presentation. I have the photo sims up here. Oh, I should also mention while I'm here, this is the Planning Commission resolution. Was essentially to make sure that we maintain, well, I don't know if you can see it.
Where's the view here?
That's from Ortega Park by the junior high.
Okay.
And then, so that's to give reference for the city view that you guys had asked us to do as well.
I remember last week we went up here and stopped to look up this way.
Right up there, yeah.
Can you point out where
It's always easy to find next to the White House. It's right in there, and then this is the blow up, so you can see the difference.
When was this built?
I don't know. Not sure.
80s.
It looks like an 80s house.
80s.
80s? Okay.
So these are the photo sims. Actually, I was gonna talk about the resolution. The resolution talks about allowing the encroachments that we were asking for, but was maintaining the street trees along this area. And if they were to ever fail, then to replant them. So there's like 3 oaks, young oaks on that.
Okay.
On that screen. And again, these are the 3D images that you guys saw before, existing and proposed.
Did you have landscape plans required? Was there any?
There's no landscape. We're within the footprint, with the
Yeah.
exception of on that
I see.
driveway side, but
Okay.
other than that, the landscape is not being modified.
Oh,
These plants actually are still showing, well, I added that, so this was what you previously reviewed
I
with the
see.
chimney, and that's with it removed.
Oh, yeah.
Big difference. Okay, great. So is that the,
Did I forget anything?
any other, anything to say, or is that it? Okay, so I'll bring it back to the
Nothing
board.
to say.
All right. Michelle, are you here for any comments on the project?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. Michelle Bedard, Assistant Planner on the project. Just wanted to be here if you did have any questions of me. They did a great job explaining the project since the Planning Commission. Just one note, and I'm sorry if I missed it, but they added a new window on the front elevation that's within the setback. That's part of the land use approval that was approved by the Planning Commission for the modification. However, they will need a substantial conformance determination, so if you can provide comments on that for the record,
Okay.
that'd be good.
So which window is she referring to?
I don't think it shows.
It doesn't show that,
on
but
this.
it's right there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's around the front side, actually. Is it
Elevations are that away, aren't they?
on this other, it's that little one that, around front. I don't think you can see it from any of these, yeah. So
show
it's
it.
basically, it's on the next site plan. It sits like right here, essentially, because it's basically kind of center line.
So you added that window?
That's the window. Okay. That's
Have
the
that in
2 by
elevation?
2. Yeah, it shows an elevation that we just looked at.
Wait 1 second, I'm just trying to see where, this is just landscape, right?
This is all landscape
Okay.
from here over, yeah. Actually, go back a couple, I think. One more.
There it is, right there.
Okay. All right, great, thank you. All right, do we have any public comment? I think, any letters or?
I didn't receive any written public comment.
All right, thank
You're
you.
not, yeah, come up.
Did you
and-
fill out yeah, you need to fill out a form. Ed? Okay.
There's a mic right there.
Yeah, just make sure it's filled out, but yeah, sit down, go ahead.
So it was my recollection.
So make sure,
And
everything's
say who
recorded.
you are.
Oh, I'm Jeannie Palumbo. I'm the neighbor that.
Where you
Okay.
live.
I live across the street next to the White House that was an
Okay, let's look
abomination
at the-
when it was approved and designed.
It shows on the site plan, too.
Yeah, a bigger site.
Yeah,
Pages. Here we go.
they're here.
All right, you're
So
living
we're
right here.
So-
Okay,
So
great.
Michelle brought up the one thing I remembered, and I may have 6 months since we were at the planning commission, but I could have swore there was no window allowed on that street. I mean, it really doesn't negatively affect me, but I remember something in the minutes about the window. I don't know if you remember, but I could listen to it tonight. I just had it downloaded. So I was concerned about that. I don't know, we'll be driving down our driveway if they want us looking directly into that window when we back up. If they're coming from the bathroom, for example, and they're getting clothes from their closet. If you look at how it lays out. Because originally it was designed without a window.
Let's see.
And I think Kent said there will be no
that's it.
windows on the street side. That's what I,
At that time, yeah. It
But
was more a response to single family.
This is what, okay, so you do see
Yeah.
it on the street
Yeah.
level. All right.
Why not have a
Yeah,
window?
the street's here.
no, I'm just saying that was one of the things that he
Okay.
made a point of, that there was no window on the street side.
Okay.
Just from that standpoint. And, I just talked to Kent. He showed me the plans. We're happy that that chimney is gone. But it took a lot of work, just from a neighbor standpoint, and a lot of anguish to get to that point. And I really appreciate the fact that we got this far. Because I don't know if you remember, we were here.
Yeah, we
you know,
remember this, I do,
Yeah.
a lot of times.
And
I
you
think.
came up to the property, it was really great, and I feel like I got, at least the satisfaction of getting that chimney removed, because I know Bernie had a problem with it, and a lot of the people felt the same way, Susan Reardon. So that is a relief. But my biggest concern, just to tell you, and I just expressed this to Kent, is that it's the construction, the dirt, the noise, the pollution, the 8 or 9 months. That is a neighbor, because we live here full-time. The Bells live in Manhattan Beach. They're here a couple times a year. It's misery. And that's why I just think, oh, my word, I'm glad he can get what he wants. But from full-time residents, and we're in the neighborhood, it's a bummer. It's a real bummer.
The city can address that. There's some clauses they can include for that,
Yeah.
to make sure that they don't work on the weekends and that
Oh,
they
yeah.
have certain hours.
And the parking, that street is a lane, it's not a street, it's narrow.
Okay.
People drive on my, when they come up the road, they drive off the road, because we have those metal plates on our driveway, it's clunk, 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 clunk. So when these trucks are there, they're backing up, turning around, beeping, I mean, it's obnoxious, so I'd like the list of whatever the neighbors can do to mitigate, and some earplugs, like I.
While we have Michelle here, maybe you could explain, is there anything that the board has jurisdiction, like, transportation to and from the site or things like that?
Off-site parking, I'd heard that's something that's available.
Well, the ordinance would just be the standard language that's in the ordinance. There's a provision that allows, I can't quote it offhand, but the days of the week and times of day, and that would just be the standard requirement.
Anything about parking specifically? So you're.
Well, I guess
Yeah,
You just live in a miserable state of.
people are building.
Yeah, well, a lot of these neighborhoods are going through transition. and
Oh,
that's-
no, I understand that.
Just to add, on the case that if they ever were to block the street for any reason, for any duration, they'd need to get a public works encroachment permit, and that would be identified, noticed on the street.
And I would think also the thing to look into is if there is issues, who you contact, what your options are in terms of if
Right,
there's a
who-
problem. But we don't do that. You'd have to go to the city and, the building.
Okay, and then
so
who would, is that,
So you'd have to handle that with the city, not with us, so, yeah.
I
but-
can't call you up, Brian, and say, hey,
Well, we could have a great conversation, but I don't think I'd help you.
get over here. You can't believe what's going on. Because that house has been remodeled twice already, so I can tell you.
Okay.
I've been through it.
Okay, great.
Not once, but twice.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you very much. So,
Mr.
Bring
Chair,
it back
board
to-
members?
Yes.
Just to address that comment on the window, I think the applicant just
Yes.
stated, but they originally did not propose any windows, but there were not any provisions or restrictions that they could not have any windows. So it's really just a
Great.
substantial of the board's comments and then a substantial conformance determination.
all right, great, thank you. Good to know. All right, Ty, we'll bring it back to the board for any questions. Who has any questions? Do you have any questions, Joe?
No questions.
I do. What was exactly happening that had to be appealed? I wasn't clear what that was all about.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Well, so we went to the staff hearing officer actually 2 times. The first time in October with the project that's in front of you. And staff had a recommendation to only approve a portion of our request.
Okay.
And so we didn't actually take a decision that day. We asked for a continuance to look at our options, et cetera. Go back over the minutes and what, the
Wait,
work.
so they approved part of it? Is
Well,
that what
I
you
guess
No,
said?
nothing was approved the first hearing. So, but the staff recommendation was for a portion of the encroachment that we asked for.
But not all of it.
But so the action wasn't taken. I probably have the staff report here. I could look up more
I
details.
guess my
So the
question- yeah.
so the next hearing, I'm sorry, I always get drowned in the details, Brian. It's just
Well, I was
the
just-
nature of my work.
What exactly was appealed? That's all I'm.
So the staff hearing officer approved the staff recommendation, which was for
Partial encroachment.
Partial encroachment, about half of what, just to put it more simply, about half of what
you
we've
wanted.
requested.
So you appealed it and got the
So-
full encroachment.
So we appealed that approval action, took it up to the level of planning commission for their consideration.
And then they granted the.
They granted an approval.
Okay, great. Does that?
Well, how did that translate into the plan then?
So what we originally proposed is what was approved.
Okay.
And Kent has gone over a couple little changes we did out that window because it was a comment that this board made to sort of add some interest to that front elevation. And we checked ahead of time with staff that that would be consistent with the mod. And we definitely did talk about windows because we have 2 encroachments. We have the one that's along the frontage, so the street, and then we have an interior yard encroachment. It could be that we talked about how important it was to not have openings that face the neighbor in that setback. But usually the street openings are seen a little bit differently.
Okay. All right, thank
Answer
you.
your question?
Did you completely do away with the fireplace?
The
Is that-
fireplace is still there on the first floor,
It's
so it's just a direct vent.
Just
Self-combustion
right out
direct
the
vent.
wall
So
and
it goes
couldn't-
out the wall, there's a vent that sits off the
Yeah,
back of the
you
wall.
mentioned that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? Okay, no comments or questions?
I got a comment.
Yes, please.
Ken, I think you did a great job of showing proposed, and we don't get this very often. We usually have to, when a client comes back, they usually change the drawings and maybe different scales, and this is great. What's existing, what's proposed down below, and it looks great.
Thank you.
Really nice job.
Yeah, I follow up on that. I think it's very sensitive to the existing architecture. It doesn't look like an addition. I think you did a good job.
I agree.
So I can support this project. So
I can too, for the same reasons.
if someone would like to make a motion, they're here for.
I do have.
Yes.
Not to interrupt you.
Oh, you
These
have a-
are the colors.
Okay.
It's all going to be what's existing out there, but I just brought this.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So they're here for design approval. So
Joe, can you pass that?
Project
on?
design approval.
Yes.
Thanks.
So I'll say it one more time, that it's here for design project approval, and it must comply with Planning Commission Resolution 001-17. So who would like to make a motion?
Come on, guys.
Guys are always shy.
The board would like to give 825 Roble Lane project design approval. It complies with Planning Commission Resolution number 001-17. We appreciate the fact that you have removed the chimney that was a bone of contention with the neighbors. I'm a little unclear about our decision about the window, if there is a decision about.
Well, that's a good
this.
point. You want to make a comment that the
You
board.
guys would like to look in your minutes. I believe you requested that they put a window there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
We'll be okay with our previous request to put a window along the street edge to keep the wall from, that facing wall from being so boring. So, okay, that's not a good language.
NPO.
Make the NPO findings.
Yes,
May
and-
suggested that the window was added to provide interest on that particular wall.
Yes, interest, much
elevation.
better word. And the project meets with neighborhood preservation findings. It has consistency in appearance. It's compatible with the existing neighborhood, uses quality architecture and materials, and it follows good neighbor guidelines, and the board definitely appreciates the attention to detail you put into showing completed drawings.
Great, thank you.
Would you like to continue it to full board or consent for final?
You need details, right?
I don't have them in this.
Yeah,
So
just for
to full board.
For final.
For final?
It's all matching existing. So
Or
if that
consent,
matters.
I don't know. Consent. Is
No.
consent more
I won't be
appropriate?
seeing you again.
It's just,
I don't want to see it again.
you don't want to see it again?
No, I don't want to see it
So
again.
would the maker of the motions,
I will consider consent if that,
okay.
we can return to consent at what?
Yeah.
You're going to see it again.
A later-
Okay. So you move it to consent?
Yes.
Okay.
It's all right with the second one?
Yeah, does the second approve that, or do you want it to the full board?
I think that's okay.
Great, all right, thank you. So we have it to the consent. Indefinitely?
Yeah, we could put the details together because we have them. So it could be
2 weeks?
2 weeks is fine, yeah.
Okay. Kathy, could you
Consent in 2 weeks.
read the motion?
The board finds the proposed project complies with Planning Commission Resolution 001-17. The board previously proposed chimney removal and the street side window provided for additional architectural style. Board made the finding that the neighborhood preservation ordinance criteria has been met for the city Santa Barbara Municipal Code with for project consistency and appearance, neighborhood compatibility, quality of architectural materials, and good neighbor guidelines.
Thank you. With the, well, could you make the maker of the motion change the architectural style to architectural interest? I think is
I don't know if the maker of the motion would maybe want to clarify that the chimney wasn't removed, it was just reduced. So that's,
Reduced in height with a
Direct vent.
direct vent option.
Okay.
Could you read back, did we give it, what was the first
Project
sentence?
design
We gave
approval
it to be returned to consent for
For
final.
all the details, for final.
The details, okay.
Okay, the motion has been made, and Bernie seconded. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. That's your
Thank you.
project.
And there's the color board.
All right, great.
Those are coming.
We only need one set.
Yeah, we just need
take
one.
those?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, could we take a 2-minute break?
Are we early?
Well, a couple minutes, we're 3 minutes early.
Well, there's only 2 projects left.
Yeah, but
See.
I need to.
So I'm going to give an adjournment to the board for 5 minutes. We return in 5 minutes. Reconvene the board now. And our next project is 636 Aurora Lane, if you'd like to come up. Hi.
New item.
This is a new item.
Got to read it.
Okay, so the proposal to construct a 340 square foot first floor addition and a new 861 square foot second story addition to an existing 1,291 square foot one-story single-family residence with an attached 391 square foot two-car garage. The proposal total of 2,883 square feet on a 10,584 square foot lot located in the Hillside Design District is 78% of the maximum allowable floor to lot area ratio, FAR. Staff hearing officer review is requested for additions within the required 10-foot interior setback. The project will address violations in zoning information report ZIR 2010-00555. The project is here for comments only. Project requires staff hearing officer review for a zoning modification request. So could you introduce yourself? And
Yes, my name is Nicole Troutman. I'm with CSA Architects representing the Saffids.
Okay. Would you like to
Sure.
show us your project?
Sure. Well, I'll start out with the site plan, and we'll point out that on the first story, we are looking to add 368 square feet, where you see in this shaded area, and extend a patio uncovered in this shaded area. I also drew the outline of the second floor addition so that we can discuss. There will be some comments from the neighbors about how this would impact the neighbors. So we did want to show exactly where these sight lines will show. So I did outline that as well. This property is about 7 feet below the elevation of this adjacent property. And I believe this property is somewhere about 10 or possibly more than that below this property. So the neighborhood is on a very steep slope, which is best case scenario, I think, when you are looking to add two-story additions. So this is what we're proposing for the areas of the additions for the first and second floor. Demo plan, I'm sure we probably want to skip that. This just shows that we're adding 2 bedrooms upstairs and a loft area. And this shows the area of the first floor expansion to the back of the property. I think the more crucial element to discuss would be roof plan and elevations, because that will impact the neighborhood. So the shaded area here, we're showing the second area roof and the proposed future solar panels should that need to be addressed. And here's the first floor area roof addition. I do want to point out that we are matching the existing slope of the existing roof, which is a very shallow slope as it is already. We'll show that in some pictures later, but it is not a very steep roof line, which would, yeah, I actually think it might be 3 and 12, but I'm going to verify that. That sounds a little high to me. But we'll show you in the pictures. We have photographs in the back that do show how shallow it is, and we are matching that.
Okay.
So these are the existing elevations. As you can see, it's a one-story residence currently. First floor is about 8 feet high with those shallow roofs that I mentioned. And what we're proposing Here's our second story addition. I've demonstrated the neighboring property following the site setback lines to show approximately how high up the neighbor's property is that would directly be impacted by our improvement. So that's this elevation. You ready to switch to the next one?
Go ahead.
Okay. These are the north and south elevations. And I think the best demonstration also is to just show some of the neighborhood photos, since we will be hearing from the neighbors. There's a number of things to point out. There's a neighboring property in the back right here. I believe this property is at least 20 feet above this property here. So in terms of sight lines, I think there would be very, very minimal impact, if anything, from the residents that we're doing. So I was pointing at this one here,
Yeah.
but I know you probably want to discuss that one.
We did a approval of the second story addition on their house.
Was it approved, or was it just through review, design review?
It was approved.
Okay.
Is this your property here?
Yes, that's the property we're proposing.
And we just did something?
And there's a large slope here, right?
So we did
Yes, it's about,
something- This
Yeah.
one?
This one
Yeah,
is-
there's a second story
Yeah.
addition.
What we got the comment from? Or our-
yes.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
And this neighboring property is about 20 feet above this.
Yeah.
And this is 7 feet above that, so it's.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So those are some of the views of the neighborhood. And then just some elevation views we were requested to include. One of the important things I can just point out now is that we are looking to keep the same exact color in terms of exterior materials. So the second edition will also be stucco, and we will be matching the same color. So we're not redesigning the aesthetic style. We are just integrating the second story into our addition.
Thank you. All right, is there any public
We
input?
received a written comment that you should have.
Okay, oh, there they are. All
had,
right,
and then
thank you.
there's a public comment.
Okay, so we have a Nick D'Ancelli. Would you like to come up and speak? Well, you have 2 minutes, so unless you, yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully you got my email that I submitted on Friday. I understand that some of the signatures or some of the PDFs that I had on there might have been blurry, so I got you a copy of what the signatures detailed around the neighborhood. So we do have some concerns about this project. And I noted those in the email. There's about 5 concerns specifically.
You have to speak right into the microphone.
Sorry, there's about five concerns specifically. Some from us directly, and then some just from the neighborhood. I think maybe you're aware of 2 houses that are across the street.
Yep.
They were on our last picture. From a neighborhood's perspective,
Yeah.
those 2 houses have set a precedent that people are very scared of. They don't. They took very little consideration to the neighbor that was to the north of them. They're a big wall. I guess.
Where
you
do
would,
you live exactly?
I'm the house above. I'm the house.
You're this house right here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
640, exactly. 640. So the neighborhood is very concerned about these houses that are getting put in that are being approved that have this canyoning or this stacked double story.
Yep.
And they are not going in. They're not being tapered in. They're not using much of a roof line, and they're really impacting the house above them. So that is sort of a community concern. There's
Yeah.
obviously the view concern that we think our view is going to be catastrophically eliminated by a second story here. We think that we have 2 windows and a farmhouse door on the north side of south side of our property that faces the sun. We think that putting 2 stories on there as close as they have it proposed is going to effectively eliminate a whole lot of sunlight coming into our house. We have our living room, our kitchen, and our dining room right there, and we feel like those 2 windows in that door are going to get almost no sunlight, and it's going to affect our right to solar access. If you look at our property as well, the next point is it's sort of in a little bit of a bowl. It's got 21 feet hillsides around much of it, around the back of it and around the sides of it, and our only breeze comes up from the south. And that's how we provide fresh air into our home. And we believe that a second story is going to impact that air coming in there through that farmhouse door and through those 2 windows. Our right to privacy, we have a dining table.
Wrap it up, too.
Sorry, a dining room table in
But
the
he
back.
has 2 more minutes unless she's going to speak.
I don't
right?
believe she gave her 2 minutes to him.
Oh, okay.
So we have a dining area. We have a 5 and 7-year-old, and we have a lot of family areas in the backyard. And we think that the second story is close enough and high enough to where it's going to loom. And I've gone so far as to actually. Go ahead.
Yeah, you've kind of finished up. Your 2 minutes is
Okay.
finished up, so you're
Okay.
kind of. Thank you for
Yeah, you
what
bet.
you shared.
We
Yeah.
saw this, so
Okay.
no worries.
I appreciate it.
We all
Okay.
looked at it.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you. Joan Coyle?
I think if we flip to the site plan, it's better to understand where the neighbors are coming from.
Speak right into the microphone.
Oh. I'm on the second house on the high side, and this project does not agree with your project compatibility analysis, item 3 and item 5, okay?
So you're on this property right here?
I'm on Roberto. I'm up on the
you're up
corner,
back
and
here?
I'm overlooking. And this public scenic view, there's like a valley down the backyard, and it runs right out to the ocean, and it's just all green with trees, and it's beautiful. And this is going to screw it up, excuse my language. And it's going to spoil my ocean view, which I understand you don't pay attention to, but it will not only affect me, but all the houses on that side of Roberto, which there are 3, and all the houses on that side of Juanita, because they all have the same public scenic view right down this back valley. I have 3 suggestions. Probably they don't want them, but anyway, I'll say them. The best one would be if it was all 1 story. They could put it around the back. That would have the least impact on people's scenic view. The second one would be, instead of moving increasing the space 10 feet back, if they increased it 10 feet out towards Aurora, that would not impinge any more on people's view because their garages are all there. The third thing, which I've forgotten right now, but anyway, they showed 2 houses on their plans for the neighborhood, but they are not representative of the neighborhood. The neighborhood is 1-story houses with big, pretty gardens, and basically they have a few of these, but it's not the neighborhood. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. So that was all for public comments, and then we received the emails. Basically, please accept our signature below as a unified statement to concern regarding the second-story addition proposed at 636 Aurora Avenue. We respectfully request that special consideration be given to the second. Yes.
I remember the other thing.
Yeah.
If they had a flat roof, that would help a little bit too. Because
Okay.
it'd make it a little bit lower.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, given the second-story volume and the exterior design aesthetics, including sides and rear, so that it does not negatively impact the existing neighborhood views, please accept our signature below, a unified statement, same thing. We are writing to add comments below. The existing structure generated major concern in our neighborhood. To date, 6 neighbors have voiced their concern about the second-story addition, affecting solar access, privacy, sufficient airflow. Basically shows a very well-done documentation of how the do's and don'ts. It's almost like something out of our design book. So anyway, this is basically showing you all the different comments on the homes that are in the neighborhood. So,
Do I have the opportunity to make any more comments?
yeah, I think that's it. It's done with public comment. We're familiar with the emails. What would you like to say?
Okay, I mean, just a few things.
Can you guys hear, because she's kind of speaking?
Well, yeah, make sure you speak in this mic.
Speak up a little more.
In terms of only doing a one-story, as you can see, our open yard setback is right here, so having it all be one-story is really not an option. In terms of having this be an only one-story residential neighborhood, that is not accurate. As you can see across the street, many of the neighbors have already done two-story additions. In terms of the neighbors on Roberto Ave, here is an image of those two neighboring properties, one home from which we heard the residents speak, and the elevation of their property is almost 30 feet above where we are, so it is not even in the direct sight line. And let's see what else. I do have.
Ma'am, please.
We can't have you speak.
I do have. It's not included in this elevation. I just have the solar packet that shows that we are not impacting that solar zone. If you want to see that, I do have.
Okay. Well, if the board wants to ask, I'll definitely have that prepared.
So our roof line does not fall within the solar impact zone.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to bring it back to the board now for questions. One comment I have to make, though. You're adding a second story to your house, though, right? Is that correct?
That's pending right now, correct?
Yeah, okay, because I do recall that how I'm very familiar with your house because that's with the Beasleys, and I used to house sit their cat. So I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. Let me make my comments. So you are adding a second story addition on your home next door. I just want to put that on record. And I want to put the Fred Sweeney's hat on this because this is one of those neighborhoods where you have the cascading neighborhood. It was developed at a time when the values of the property was very different. These are all 50s era single-story homes, and now we're going through this massive transition where they're all adding second stories, kind of a reflection of the value of the neighborhood, the fact that they all have these hidden view of the ocean on the end of Aurora. So, this is one of those situations, again, where we can't stop people from adding a second story, but, this is one of those very common issues in this city about upscaling these neighborhoods. So anyway, that's my only comment. So, any other questions?
Questions? Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Is it possible to...
Is this a question or a comment?
This is a question. Is
Okay.
it possible that you might have room to wiggle the second story into a more beneficial for all position?
If you look at the February 23rd, 2015 Design Review Board meeting where the neighbors presented their project, their entire second story massing was against my client's property. It was right up against it, and they were specifically asked to move it all the way to the slope side of the hill. So we started our project out on the slope side so that it would not impact the downslope view lines of the other neighboring properties.
Thank you.
Well, please. So, I know. This isn't new to us on this board. Anyone else have any comments?
That was a question.
Or questions, sorry.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not too sure if it's a question or a comment. Are
you on?
Are all the...
Those addresses.
Ma'am, please.
Please refrain from speaking while the board members are having a discussion.
It says on, and I'm not mute.
It could have been me.
I am mute. Yep, okay. Sorry.
Something's
Sorry.
wrong.
Sorry.
They're trying to tell us something.
Okay.
I don't understand this letter. I don't understand your comments. I'm not addressing you. I'm addressing the fellow behind you. If you're adding a second story, it almost negates everything you said here.
Can I just say here, if you would like to address someone of the public, please have them come up and talk into the record so that
Okay.
we can have comments on record, because they're not going to be able to catch that in the recording if we talk.
So absolutely, and I understand it, and we follow the good neighbor guidelines. I went down to the neighbor's house 3 different times with my plan before I submitted. I have a written authorization from them agreeing with the plan. I brought it back 8 feet. I moved my balcony from the ocean side to our yard side. And so I worked very, very hard. If you remember, Joan was here as well, and we worked to change the pitch of the roof with hers and change the movement of the whole structure back. And the fact that it was misrepresented by this architect is not true. It's not true. You guys were here. You have it all on tape.
What is not true?
She's saying that we were as close to the setback, her property, as we were. We pushed it back 8 feet voluntarily.
Yeah, hold on.
I remember.
Don't carry your comments any further than I'm just commenting about these unfinished.
Okay.
Okay.
Please, I'm
All right,
finished.
thank you.
I see the. I'll wait for. I have some comment. I have some comments
Okay,
rather
we're still
than
in
questions.
Okay.
I have a
Okay, we're
question,
still in
please.
questions.
Okay.
So this is a rather nice representation of a second story that is done nicely, where it's sunk in a little bit more. Is there any possibility that you could reconfigure your second story to be a little bit more embedded?
I think if we look at the elevation, I mean, it is sunken in. We pushed the second story back from the front setback line into the garage. And I'll just show you this real quick. It is sunken into the roof. It's sunken into these valleys here. I believe we did address that. So here's another view of showing the front elevation where it is sunken into the existing roof lines.
It's pulled back, yeah.
I think what we're commenting about is that not your front elevation, but your back elevation, which are sheer two-story sheer walls.
Yeah, I think that's a problem.
That's what we're
Especially
commenting about.
this one here.
And this one.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the wall that would neighbor the property, and there's two problems with adding more window design features. One, the neighbors could see in, and two, this client could see
We're not
the
talking
neighbors.
about adding windows. We're talking about maybe moving the wall, the second-story
This is
wall.
my commentary.
This is an exterior
Okay, so-
load-bearing wall here.
It's my floor right
People
now.
go out of control, and I'm always the chair. So could you hold your comments and let Denise finish her?
Yeah, it's
Bernie wants to go out of
free
control, too.
Please, Denise,
Okay,
please finish
so,
your comments.
yeah, I'm really deeply concerned about the north elevation. It's just a big solid mass, and it's not well fenestrated, in my opinion. And yes, there may be issues about that, and it's just that it's pretty much straight up and down here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would. I guess I'm in comments.
I guess we're going into comments. Okay.
I just would really like to see this brought down. What is your plate height up there?
Only 8.
8 feet.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to see it somehow articulated better than what you have there. It's just really not a pleasant elevation at all. I also think that in this neighborhood, as we have spoken about before, that this is a real story pole situation, where I would definitely suggest story poles, because it's those Mesa neighborhoods. They were built for one-story homes. That was just the way it was. And now that everybody's turning over, it's becoming a real issue. And we cannot save a particular view from one window or one room. But if it becomes something where you've got several neighbors that are up in arms about it and will be affected, then it's something I think we need to look at. And I think story poles will really reveal how much of an impact it's going to be.
And how many different houses it will impact.
Are you
Too.
okay?
Yeah.
Are you ready to make your comments?
I
Are you
forgot
done?
what they were.
Yes.
I
Okay,
forgot what they were. Yeah, I think that I agree with Denise. I agree with you that I think we should that north wall is I wouldn't want to look at that wall, and it really goes beyond our single-family design standards.
We can take a look at doing
It's
some.
just one big massive wall. And I'm not talking about windows, I'm talking about moving the building away from that wall so you have two planes here instead of one solid plane. It even looks, put some lines to it, some dimension lines. I didn't get it. Without those dimension lines, it'll look even worse. And you move it back, I'm sure the neighbors would, all the houses on that whole street are adding second stories. And they've all listened to us and made some changes to what they look like and how they climb up to their second story, and it would be nice if this did too.
Yeah, I think this one
To
has.
follow our guidelines.
Okay.
That's all.
That's all your comments? Bernie, do you have any comments?
Well, I pretty much agree with, I had in my notes story poles, so I think it is good. But not until we look at the north elevation with a little bit of tweaking, possibly some little deck or something instead of a big massive thing, maybe push it in and have a little deck, but more character.
Okay, thank you. Lisa?
I will confer with what Denise said. She covered it.
Yeah, my comments would be, you have every right to add a second story. However, you're in a sensitive neighborhood, and people are very emotional about and protective of their views. And what we ask in these situations is, one of the things Fred frequently does, he sketches a thing where, oh, here we go. I'll do we suggest for situations like this is when you have lower this plate height 7.6 or something and bring the, have a volume ceiling. So you're bringing the plate height down and maybe have a window, come out or somehow, but do some creative things where you can lower the plate height so there's not such an impact. There's, several options. I'm not as pretty with my drawings as Fred is, but you get my idea of lowering the upper plate height, just so you lower the impact of the visual view. The other thing that's really important to this board is good neighbor policies. So I'd really suggest that your clients, whatever they design, bring the neighbors in. And I promise you the neighbors are not going to kill you. They actually, you may be surprised how positive you may get with the feedback that they will give you. And I think you'll find out that they will be agreeable to a second story, but if they feel like they're actually contributing to the impact of the overall development, because you got to understand, they all assume when they come into this neighborhood it's going to be a certain way, but in this town and these kind of neighborhoods, they're changing very rapidly. So the only way we can really address this kind of situation is that the neighbors get together and kind of do a team effort in terms of how they want their neighborhood developed. So those are my only comments. So if someone would like to, what are they here for, comments only, or?
We need comments, and we need comments on the interior setback modification if you decide to send it to show. If you do not, then make comments on what they need to come back with the next time.
Okay, so there's your.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that, the board moves, I move that we continue the project for full board with our comments about the north wall, the break down the massive look of that east elevation and the north elevation. I think I'll keep it to my motion. And get together with your neighbors and give them a little input into the project. You'll probably end up with a lot of what you have, if you do. That's my comment. That's my
The motion
motion.
have any comments on the interior setback modification requests?
Yeah,
Appropriate or not?
they're appropriate. Yeah.
Do you think can I make a comment for the maker of the motion? Do you think it's a little too early for approving the motion? What about story polls?
Oh yeah. Okay.
So
yeah,
my
and
understanding is you want it to come back to the full board before it
full
goes
board.
to the staff.
But I
hearing.
think we should have story polls for the.
Let's wait and see what she comes up with next.
Yeah, maybe continue it to the next meeting, see what she comes back with, and then if you still would
Okay,
like to
I'll agree
request
with
story
that.
polls.
So can you give me a clarification of what you're requesting in terms of modifications?
Well, the modification, the setback here is 10 feet, but the existing building goes 9 inches into that setback. So we're just simply requesting that the addition can still follow the current existing wall line, that's all.
All right.
I think the board should agree with the request for the modification.
But just to clarify, we're not sending it to the staff hearing officer just yet. You'd like to return back to the full board and then, at that time, if it's appropriate, forward it to the staff hearing officer? Okay.
Okay, my comment, if I'd like.
Go ahead.
We haven't, we're not really secure with their design yet, so I don't know if we're secure enough to grant a mod. Is that?
We're not sending it to the staff hearing officer, and we're also not requesting story poles at this point, so you've given a couple comments on direction that you'd like to see them return with some revisions, and then at that time, if
neighbor
you still
policy.
feel like
Yes.
you would like to request story poles or forward it to the staff hearing officer, you can do so then.
And I might suggest that you may not even need a mod if you pull your second story back away from there.
But the modification's on this side? On the opposite side?
But, I mean, oh, I see it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's on the,
Because you're doing anything
it's on the
up
south
there.
side.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
The plans were shared with the neighbors already. I mean, the client did make that effort to show the plans. So are you just asking that we just show the second round of design?
Yes.
'Cause we've been trying to.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is the thing. They've come to this board expressing their concern. And it puts us in a very difficult situation when we have to kind of be the mediator. And it really helps in your design process to get the input from the neighborhood so you have some positive feedback. So I think that's kind of critical.
Sure.
In building rapport, we strive to have neighbors build rapport.
We need a second on the motion?
Kathleen, can you read the motion again?
I apologize, I came in from outside, so.
Okay.
I can read you what I
Katie,
have.
please.
Continued indefinitely to the full board with comments that the applicant revise the north elevation and work with the neighbors on the design.
North and east
North
elevation.
and east.
Okay.
North and east elevation.
So does that satisfy the second? Did anyone second the
I
motion?
don't think we did yet.
We didn't even second it yet, okay. So that's the motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Okay, you're seconding it, okay. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, we're right on time exactly, Brian. Good.
Good job, Brian.
5:10.
That's it. Sorry, I'm turned on. Turned on.
2110 Rose Avenue, Red Rose
Rose.
Avenue. Red Rose Way. I keep saying that wrong.
You want this one? Matter.
I keep thinking of that movie. Citizen Kane. Rosebud.
Rosebud.
Get rid of that. Get rid of that. I don't want that.
Okay,
Is this
let's see, we last saw this on the 12th, is that correct?
June 12th.
Yep. And our motion, we continued 2 weeks to the full board with comments. Number one, the board supported the third floor addition and considered this support site-specific since the proposed third floor addition does not block any adjacent neighboring views. Number two, the board supported the proposed front and side yard existing staircases and found them aesthetically acceptable. The front staircase was acceptable even though it is located within the front setback. Action Miller, Champagnat, 600, motion carried.
all right? Thank
What
you.
did we come back? What did they come back for?
Yeah. What do
So if I can just clarify, the last time we weren't sure, we still needed staff clarification if the project would require 2 modifications, one for the stairs in the front setback and then one for the stairs on the interior setback. It was determined by staff that the front setback stair configuration was likely a field change that was made at the original construction for a number of reasons, and then likely the interior stairs were also a field change, as it's really the only access provided to the back. So no modifications are going to be required for either of the stairs. So you can take action on the item if you think
A lot
it's
easier. Okay, and cheaper.
Well, we just need to make a motion then, right?
No changes.
No changes?
There's additional detailed information here, so we would.
We
like
did something about this.
Consent or.
Did we do something about the railings? We were going to say that the balusters had to be.
Fred asked about the balusters, and after quite a bit of discussion and 3 different design options, this is what Megan is opting for. It
So they're the
matches
same.
the neighbor, but
Okay.
she's
But
having.
the up and down are the same now.
the-
I think
Oh,
we did
yes,
it.
that's right, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that observation.
Got a
Anything
baby
else?
on the way, so good for the baby too.
So, all right, any
Are you
other
keeping the
questions?
Yeah, thank you. Are you keeping the existing garage the way it is?
Yes.
And what kind of a door is it? A wood door?
It's a sectional, I'm not sure if it's wood or
It's
metal.
not a glass door, though.
No, no, it's solid.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions? Comments? No.
Well, since you did all these drawings, we should look at them again real quick, just to refresh the memory. Yeah, I
There are no
remember
comments,
too,
and if someone would
yeah.
like to make a motion, that would be great.
All right, I'll make a motion to give this project design approval. The neighborhood preservation findings have been met. It's consistent with its neighbors. It's compatible with the neighborhood. Quality architecture and materials have been used. And the landscaping's not really going to change. It's existing. And good neighbor guidelines have been met. You talked to your neighbors.
One was here last time, just
Okay.
in support.
Great. Okay,
I
thank you.
second it.
All right, there's a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Before we do that, can I just ask where it's being continued for final?
Say that again, I'm
I
sorry.
just tried to give it final.
Oh, I only heard PDA, so PDA and final. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, you got your project.
Thank you very much, Board.
Finally. Oh,
Pardon? Oh, and there's a 10-day appeal period for this
easy for you to
project.
say.
And
Thank you
that's,
again.
thank you very much. And I think that concludes our single-family design board for June 12th.
When I think of Tom, I think about the night when the earth smelled of summer and the sky was streaked with white, and the soft mist of England was sleeping on a hill. I remember this, and I always will. There are new lovers now in the same silent hill, looking on the same blue sea. And I know Tom and I are a part of them all, and they're all a part of Tom and me. Hello, young lovers, wherever you are. I hope your troubles are few. All my good wishes go with you tonight. I've been in love like you. Be brave, young lovers, and follow your star. Be brave and faithful and true. Cling very close to each other tonight. I've been in love like you. I know how it feels to have wings on your heels and to fly down the street in a trance. You fly down the street with the chance that you'll meet, and you meet not really by chance. Don't cry, young lovers, whatever you do. Don't cry because I'm alone. All my memories are happy tonight. I've had a love of my own. Yes, I've had a love of my own like yours. I've had a love of my own. I know how it feels to have wings on your heels and to fly down the street in a trance. You'll fly down the street with the chance that you'll meet, and you meet not really by chance. Don't cry, young lovers, whatever you do. Don't cry because I'm alone. All of my memories are happy tonight. I've had a love of my own. I've had a love of my own like yours. I've had a love of my own. Hello, young lovers, wherever